Minister Blair, thank you so much for being here. Guy, thank you for those words. I am truly grateful to receive the Vimy Award. Mesdames et messieurs, ce soir, c'est vraiment pour moi une leçon de humilité. Je suis très, très reconnaissante d'avoir eu l'occasion de servir le Canada. And I'm not sure about that Uncle Walt thing anymore. I think I'm now Grandpa Walt. I'd just like to thank the leadership and all members of the Conference of Defense Associates for granting me this honor. I am privileged to join the ranks of distinguished Vimy Award recipients of past years. And I know that I'm receiving this award due to the hard work, exhaustive fact-checking, and creative writing by Major General retired Jim Farron. Major General Farron is an extraordinary leader and my friend. And Jim, thanks so much. And to all of those who supported my nomination, thank you so, so much. I am so pleased to be able to share this recognition with my family. I could only have served with the love and support of my amazing wife, Leslie, and my 3 children, Margaret, William, and John, who are all here tonight. Just stand up. Just stand up, could you? Will, John, Margaret, stand up. Margaret's in the Navy, Will's in the Air Force, John is in the Army, and Leslie is my special force. But no, they've supported me through all of those postings, the long deployments, the frequent absences. They've found their own paths to service and have created beautiful families. And our daughters-in-law, Denise and Jackie, are here tonight. And all 8 grandkids are being taken by the other sides of the family. So it's a night out on the town. And it's Leslie and my privilege to be able to support our kids as ever we can. And what a privilege that is. J'aimerais que ma mère et mon père soient ici aujourd'hui parce que c'est leur expérience en temps de guerre qui est à l'origine de mon désir de servir le Canada par le service. You see, my dad believed and felt that he owed Canada. He was ethnically cleansed from eastern Poland. He survived a slave labor camp in Soviet Gulag. He was a Polish war combatant, a private soldier, and a Sherman tank driver, one of those. He was wounded at the Battle of Monte Cassino in Italy and arrived in Canada as an indentured farm worker. At the end of the war, he could not return home. He was a displaced person, and Canada gave him a home, and he was truly grateful. My mom also wore a uniform. However, she wore a German Air Force uniform. She was an aerial searchlight operator. And after the war, she fled Germany to make a new life in Canada. My parents met at a church dance in Winnipeg. Go Bombers, go. Having served in opposing armed forces, neither speaking the other's language nor speaking English very well either. And yet they found love and created a truly Canadian family. I was named in honor of my mother's younger brother, Walter, who at the age of 17 died as a soldier fighting on the Russian front. But Canada gave my parents a safe haven. Hard work was rewarded with opportunity, fostered by public education and universal health care. We as Canadians are truly blessed. Yet our blessings must not be taken for granted, and if needed, must be defended. Je suis tellement reconnaissante de cette opportunité que j'ai eue de contribuer à la défense de la paix et de la sécurité du Canada. Mes parents seraient ravis. This evening, I'd just like to share with you a few of my remarks, and I hope that that will contribute to the dialogue on national security. I wish to share with you some of my concerns, but also what inspires me and gives me hope for the future. When I stood on this very stage 12 years ago, it was 12 years ago last week, Retiring as your Chief of Defense Staff, it was clear to me that the Canadian Armed Forces was in better shape than it had been for many years. From our combat mission in Afghanistan, the humanitarian mission in Haiti, the NATO mission over Libya, support to the 2010 Winter Olympics, and all the other domestic operations, the forces were a well-oiled operational machine. The ranks were full. Recruiting was up by 10% across the nation, except in two provinces, Quebec and Alberta, where it was up by 15%. However, news of our forces in recent years have shifted dramatically, where Canada and its military are depicted as being ill-prepared for an uncertain future. In fact, the deficiencies are worrisome. The lack of personnel, aging and unserviceable equipment, and budget constraints, among other factors, reducing the service's ability to train and to prepare for contingencies, to provide government with options for operations. Indeed, over the past decade, the world has become even more volatile, uncertain, chaotic, and ambiguous than at any time during my service, and more dangerous than at any time since World War II. War is exploding in Ukraine and the Middle East, while tensions are heightened in the Asia-Pacific region. On voit aussi les risques de dégénération régionale et d'erreurs costeuses et involontaires progresser de jour en jour. Chez nous, les changements climatiques font des ravages au Canada et nos forces doivent être prêtes à intervenir en dernier recours. Le moment est venu pour la nation de se rendre compte qu'elle a besoin de ses forces soient prêtes à faire face aux incertitudes de notre avenir. But in the face of all of these concerns, I believe there is great hope and great hope for the future. I'm inspired by the quality of Canadians who are serving today. Those in the ranks reflect our modern Canadian society, products of a solid education system, social services, and healthcare. The new recruits are unlike those who joined with me back in the 1970s, nor those who joined 10, 20, and 30 years ago. Effectivement, ils et elles reflètent notre jeunesse d'aujourd'hui. Ils sont unis par leur désir de servir et d'avoir une carrière de service aventureuse. Ils veulent aller quelque part, démontrer leurs compétences et faire une différence. And today's junior ranks are led by the finest cadre of senior non-commissioned members, I believe, in the world. Hua! That term, hua, has 99 meanings, one of which is just emphasis as a point like that. But our senior non-commissioned members are the technical masters of our profession. They know what right looks like and are making their best efforts to train tomorrow's warriors to maintain standards of training and discipline, the ingredients of a professional force. And I am inspired by the officers of the Canadian Armed Forces. It warms my heart to see the quality of our military leaders, from our Chief of Defense Staff, General Jenny Carignan, the flag officers and the general officers, and the entire chain of command. C'est incroyable de voir à quelle vitesse le temps passe quand je réalise que les gens qui ont servi avec moi il y a peu de temps en tant que capitaine, major et lieutenant-colonel dirigent maintenant nos forces en tant qu'admiraux et officiers généraux. Bravo à vous tous. Let's give them a round of applause. These leaders were identified years ago as exceptional commanders and staff officers with the values, the skills, and the trust to warrant their advancement. I had trust in them years ago, and I trust them now. With rare exception, they represent the best leaders our nation has produced. They represent the military values of service before self, integrity, loyalty, and courage that brings honor to our country. They understand that the military must reflect the societal norms and culture of respect, inclusion, and diversity. And the forces are not perfect. Oh, they're not perfect. The military has its faults and has witnessed individuals who have breached values. The Canadian military is, after all, a reflection of our civil society. But that reflection stops at one big difference. The military is and must continue to be held at a higher standard. C'est pour ça qu'on doit tout rendre compte. C'est aussi pour cela qu'il n'y a aucun doute dans mon esprit. Nos forces sont une organisation professionnelle, disciplinée et respectée qui fait de son mieux pour sauver notre nation. I am inspired by the ongoing trust, cooperation, and partnership with our international allies and friends. Strong relationships between members of the Canadian Armed Forces and members of our allies have been established over the course of decades. Mutual trust and confidence were earned in tough operations, and that trust has been established between our allies in Canada is absolutely essential for operational success in the future. Je suis inspiré par le service attentif et loyal de notre fonction publique dans l'ensemble du gouvernement. J'ai toujours été impressionné par le travail d'équipe et le partenariat de la main-d'œuvre civile à la défense nationale. Et pas seulement à la défense, en effet, les gens extraordinaires à l'agence spatiale, that's for you there out there, Jim, et ceux d'Ancien Capitaine Canada, Paul Ledwell over there, qui m'ont accueilli dans leur rang étaient un excellent reflet de professionnalisme, de dévouement et de l'excellence de la meilleure fonction publique. The space agency is like a battalion of brilliant engineers, scientists, astronauts, and operators. Every day they contribute towards Canadian science, innovation, commerce, and defense. They inspire generations of Canadians, especially our youth, to reach their full potential. And on that note, my best wishes go out to Jeremy Hansen for success in his upcoming mission. And I got to tell you what, folks, Space Agency, I think, were in shock when I arrived as the president. You know, my degree nominally says a degree in business administration. In reality, my degree is in rugby and football. And for those incredibly brilliant folks to welcome me into their fold and try to contribute was absolutely extraordinary. So again, Jim, please carry that message back to the Space Agency. And the folks at Veterans Affairs live the values of care, compassion, respect towards our veterans and their families who have sacrificed so much for Canada. They have a pivotal role to assist and enable the well-being of our veterans and treat each one of them like they are family, and the care is truly sincere. Members of our public service have also deployed alongside our forces and faced extreme risks. And I wish to honor all of them. But tonight, I would just like to mention a couple. Glenn Barry made the ultimate sacrifice while serving with our troops in Afghanistan. We will remember him. Bushra Saeed Khan survived severe traumatic injuries of an improvised explosive device while serving alongside our soldiers. And with determination and fortitude, she has returned to her duties at Global Affairs. I'm inspired by the many Canadians who, through not-for-profit organizations, support our veterans, support the members of the Canadian Armed Forces, support those veterans living without shelter, and disadvantaged veterans. Service organizations like the Royal Canadian Legion, all of the veteran associations that are out there supporting our military and our veterans. Canada Company is represented here. The commissionaires are out there, as well as all the research that's done by the Canadian Institute of Military and Veteran Health Research. The Chronic Pain Center of Excellence, members are out here, the Atlas Center, to support those veterans suffering with mental health injuries. All of those organizations make a huge contribution for our veterans and a difference as they transition to civilian life. Say organisme, thank you, let's go, absolutely. Ces organismes fournissent un soutien essentiel aux membres des forces, aux vétérans et à leurs familles pour les aider à faire face à leurs tâches, les aider dans leur transition vers la société civile et assurer leur bien-être à long terme. D'autres organisations le font d'une autre manière. Je suis inspiré par l'innovation, l'attitude positive et la résilience de l'industrie canadienne de la défense, qui fournit aux forces le meilleur équipement possible dans les circonstances. The nature of warfare is changing at an exponential rate. Technology must keep pace to provide our forces an advantage when our nation sends them into harm's way. And I appreciate the resilience of industry leaders in their efforts to navigate the labyrinth of processes and to collaborate with government to get the best equipment into the hands of our most junior sailors, soldiers, air personnel, and special forces troopers. I'm inspired by our journalists and members of the media who make the effort to learn about the military, to report on its operations, to sail, to fly, to go on patrol with our military, to understand its problems and to recognize its contributions towards peace and security. And following the military's operations can be a dangerous endeavor with extreme risks. I was inspired by Michelle Lang when she joined my visit team to Kandahar, Christmas of 2009, and deeply saddened when she died a few days later when an improvised explosive device struck an armored vehicle, at the same time killing our 4 brave soldiers, Private Garrett Chitley, Sergeant George Mioch, Corporal Zachary McCormack, and Sergeant Kirk Taylor, as well as injuring Bushra Saeed Khan. We will remember all of them. Je remercie les médias d'avoir veillé à ce que les Canadiens entendent parler des réalisations, des problèmes et des sacrifices des fils et des filles en uniforme du Canada. C'est cette contribution importante. Beaucoup auraient été oubliés. Folks, I am inspired by the ongoing support of our military families. And like my own, they have sacrificed so much to support their loved ones in uniform. Numerous postings causing disruptions of spousal employment, school changes, missing friends, and spotty medical coverage. All those factors add to the anxiety of the military members' frequent absences on training and dangerous operational deployments. But I just want to thank again Mrs. Maureen Anderson, representing all the mothers who have lost their loved ones in uniform. Folks, toughest part of my duty was ever being in Trenton. And with the entire chain of command, from the Governor General, Prime Minister, the Minister, with my wife Leslie, chain of command, trying to console the families at their moment of grief. And the messages from them were powerful. On one occasion, a mother said to me, "It's so tough because he wanted to go on this mission. He believed in this mission. And even though he had served before in theater, he wanted to go back." And he said to me, "Mom, I'll be back. I'll be okay. But if I don't come home, please don't do anything and don't say anything that disrespects my choice to serve." Folks, we are blessed with our military families. They're there when we're training here at home. They're supporting us if we come home wounded. And they're there with all Canadians sharing grief on our loss. We are blessed with our military families. Mesdames et messieurs, nos familles sont résilientes, mais elles ont besoin de soutien pour endurer les deux réalités liées au soutien de leurs proches en uniforme. And Mrs. Anderson, God bless you and thank you for representing all mothers. Finally, and especially after talking with Mr. Shorty Moyes, I'm inspired by our veterans. Over 2 million folks have served in the Canadian Armed Forces. Over 2 million veterans. Over our nation's history, when Canada called upon them, young and old flocked to the recruiting centers, completed all that training, and defended Canada from around the world. In fact, I recall meeting privates in Afghanistan who signed up and were already grandparents. They joined in their 50s, and like those who served at Vimy Ridge or landed on the beaches of Normandy, they all signed up to fight for peace and security, to be part of something greater than themselves. Lorsqu'ils retournent à la vie civile avec une riche expérience de vie et un leadership éprouvé, ils sont généralement le tissu qui rassemble les communautés autour du Canada. And recently, a veteran in fact I would visit at Pearly Rideau, he was quite prominent in the Ottawa Valley, and he passed away this past July. Dr. Rolly Armitage was underage when he joined the Army, a gunner. And after a few years of training, at the age of 19, he landed at Normandy, a D+10, and fought through the end of the war. And after the war, he took up the veterans' education benefits to become an accomplished veterinarian. He was also elected as the mayor of Nepean, of West Carleton, and later he served as the manager of Rideau Carleton Raceway and Carp Airport. But way back in June of 1944, during the intense battle for the city of Caen in France, his troop officer was killed in combat. Rolly was distraught and angry that such a young and talented life had been taken away. And he questioned why had he even signed up to serve, and why was he there? He thought he should have been back home in the Ottawa Valley to live a normal teenager's life, like his pals were. They were chasing girls and having fun. C'est à ce moment-là qu'il a réalisé qu'il était nécessaire de survivre pour défendre la paix et la sécurité. And he recognized right then and there that he needed to be exactly where he was and to fight. And in his own words, Dr. Armitage said, "If not me, then who? Who will serve to bring peace?" And ladies and gentlemen, to apply Dr. Armitage's words to all who defend Canada, if not us, then who? If not for all of you in this beautiful museum, in this hall tonight, and all those you represent, who would defend Canada? It takes all of us to defend our nation. Those who currently serve in uniform, those who support them, those who report on them, their families, and our veterans. All of us have a role to play, and for what you do, I thank you. Merci pour cet honneur, et merci pour tout que vous faites pour le Canada. And in this week of remembrance, we say, at the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Merci, thank you.